Hi guys, it's Theresa of Larkin Design, and I'm here today. This is part 2 of the video and layout that I shared with you on Tuesday. And so in my Project Life album for 2016 for week 24, if you missed Tuesday's video, go back and watch it. I did a single page layout in the Project Life app. And then for the rest of the week, I decided to take this sheet. I had this sheet of 9 photos that I had done in a grid pattern in the Project Life app. And I had it printed out with my other layouts. And I decided that I really didn't want to leave it as one sheet like that. That I really wanted to create a more traditional layout. And I wanted to cut the photos apart and use them on a 2-page spread instead of a 1-page grid. So that's what I'm going to do in this video today. I'm going to lay these out on white cardstock to create a 2-page spread using these 9 photos. And so the photos themselves are from a day trip that we took to Atlanta. 2 of our children went to Florida for 5 weeks over the summer to spend some time with their grandparents and their aunts and uncles that live down there. And so we met in Atlanta to drop them off. And that's just a good middle point between North Carolina and Florida, so that nobody has to make that whole drive. And so now I have my white cardstock. It's basil corduroy textured cardstock, and you can see I laid out the 9 photos sort of the way I wanted to have them. And then I'm using the Gossamer Blue August 2016 main kit and Life Pages kit as well. And so these are the journaling cards from the Life Pages kit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck some of those around these photos. And so my thought going into this was sort of an asymmetrical design. On one side 5 photos and on the other side 4 photos, and they sort of form a parentheses. And then I'm going to layer, you'll see through the video, I'm going to layer these some of the journaling cards and the pattern papers from the Gossamer Blue kit. So I sort of have in mind how I want my photos to be laid out on the layout. And now I'm going to just loosely draw around those. My plan is to create some watercolor layers underneath that. So I just took a photo so I remember how they are all laid out. And now when I remove the photos, I have a sort of an outline of where I want to put my watercolors. So I'm just going to grab my supplies for that. And I am sort of going step by step today. I don't do that often, but I am sort of going step by step today because this is something that I don't do very often. I'm trying to get back into doing some traditional layouts. So anyway, and then now I'm just going to I have 2 watercolors and one of the Tim Holtz Distress Paint colors that coordinate with the kit. The kit had some of Pink Paisley's Outfitters collection, and it also had Simple Stories Bloom and Grow. So I borrowed the blue and the green and some of the yellowy and mustard colors. And so I just chose a few spots. This is the left-hand side still. And I'm just going to put a couple of, to me they look like blobs of color, but once you layer your pattern papers and your photos on top, then you have this nice little background, just a real subtle background, no real purpose behind what my blobs look like, just something to add a little bit of visual interest to the white cardstock. And then you can see I did a little paint splattering with the navy, and then I'm going to grab the other sheet. I know it's hard to see the little pencil lines, but I am just sort of using those as my guidelines to where I want to put the paint. And those, I'm not married to any of those guidelines too. They're just so I sort of know where to put the paint down. And there's just something, there's something therapeutic to me about putting paint down on the page like this, with no real rhyme or reason. You know, there's no pressure here. It doesn't have to look like something. It's just simply to add a little bit of visual interest to the white cardstock. And especially because I'm not going to do a border on this layout. The white cardstock is the border here. So this is fun. If you haven't tried this, try it and you might like it. I do like just moving the paints around the page. And I really do like this color combination. It just sort of sets the tone for the whole layout. So letting those dry now, and we're ready to move on with the layout itself. I am erasing some of those lines. Theresa, why are you erasing your lines? I'm not married to those lines. I don't have to put the photos down exactly where they were. And I do have the photo that I took with my camera, with my phone, to help me put the pictures back to where they were. I am going to grab these papers, and I'm going to cut these up a little bit. Now, if you're like me and you struggle with cutting your patterned papers, this is my strategy for getting past that. I just take a couple of my favorites and I cut miscellaneous sizes. Some of these were 3 inches, some of these were 2 inches, some of these were 4 inches. And I also cut some of the strips from the marketing strips from the bottom. And then you'll see what I'm going to do with these here in a minute. Now sometimes if I know that I'm using these for layering underneath photos, I'll cut it a little bit bigger than the photo. But I'm going to use strips this time. So now I'm going back and I'm cutting, I'm cutting some of them down with my scissors and sort of laying them out loosely across the page. And you'll see here in a minute what I'm going to do, because you know there are 2 rows of photos. And so right now I'm just laying out the order of the patterned strips. And I don't really have any rhyme or reason to what patterns I put next to what. No real rhyme or reason. Just what I thought was fun, and really kind of how they came off the trimmer. And so now you'll see I'm cutting all the strips in half, and so 1/2 will go at the top of the photos and 1/2 will go at the bottom of the photos. There. And this is just like a really simple, not even really thinking kind of way to incorporate some of these patterns on a smaller scale, and also to do some layering. So if you like the look of layering, I recommend this technique. It's kind of fun. It's kind of, just therapeutic. You still get these punches of color and punches of pattern, but you don't have to really think about it a lot, and it just sort of goes down on the page pretty easily. So now I'm just going to tape all of these down, and they're sort of arranged just so they stick out above and below the photos just a little bit, just enough to be seen. So now now that side is taped down, I'm going to lay the photos back on top and make sure that I have those papers kind of pretty much where I want them to be. And then I'm going to glue the photos down or adhere them. I use my tape runner. I don't really use liquid glue for photos. So, and again, this isn't exactly like I had done it for the when I laid out the design plan originally, and that's okay. I'm also going to just texturize some of these edges and tuck a few more of the strips behind the photos. And this creates just a little bit of texture on the page and a little bit of visual interest. There we go. These are some of the wood embellishments that came in the Gossamer Blue kit. So I decided to add the camera here at the top. And I'm going to pop it up with pop dots since those papers create a little bit of lift. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to arrange the strips of paper. They're really more like rectangles. So I'm just going to adhere those down now. And you know, you could do this with all sorts of different shapes. This would be really cute to do this with bracket-shaped die-cut papers or hearts. If you want to just layer them behind your photos, that would be really cute. Okay, and those pattern papers are down, and now for the photos. And I'm just going back to my picture that I took to see if I sort of have it close to it, not quite close to it. I think usually, I love taking a picture like that because usually that's your gut instinct. And usually your gut is what you should follow. And I like not second guessing that original thought. So I'm going to add a little bit of texture to these edges again. And I don't turn up every edge on every paper. Just a couple here and there. So now it's time for the fun part. I'm going to embellish this layout. And I had to use this alphabet. Like, if you don't have this alphabet, you need to run and don't walk, run and get this alphabet. It's just awesome. And so I'm deciding here, like, what my title is going to be. And I decided on big city, and then I also decided to add ATL at the top as well, for Atlanta, of course. And then I'm just picking some of the embellishments that I know I want to use around the page. And so here's where it gets really random again, and I just find little places on the layout that lend themselves to a little bit of embellishing. Also a little more layering, you know, because there's always room for more layering. And I have to say, I very rarely use these little frames like this, but when I do use them, God, I sound like a Facebook meme now. When I do use them, I use them for layering. I slide them underneath the photo. That's just me. I don't know. I also want to put down this stamp. It's one of my favorites. Again, these stamps are designed by France Wisniewski of Banana Fish Studio. And so that fits nicely there. And I love the look of stamped words on top of the watercolor. So I'm also going to stamp a little bit on top there. And I often just repeat the same stamp, just random. You know, you get a little more use. Now, I really love these labels here on the exclusives that were in the Life Pages kit. I love the Gossamer Blue exclusives. There's something really clean and graphic about them, and they usually work really well with the stamp sets. So I stamped that little sentiment on there, and then I'm just going to add a couple of enamel dots into the center just to add a little texture there. And then I'm going to fill in a little bit on that little place right there. Just trying to figure out the placement that I want. And a couple of puffy stickers from the Pink Paisley Outfitters collection. And I'm really just looking around the page to see where other little places that you can add something just to draw your eye to that place. I'm also going to write just a little bit about who was with us and where we were. And so just a little shout out to this family. The people that we met in Atlanta, they are my stepdaughter's family. My husband's first wife passed away rather tragically several years ago. And so these are her family, her mother and sisters and their children. And so I have to give them a shout out because they have welcomed me into their family and have just really been warm and kind to all of us in this new journey of blending our families. And, you know, they were just so excited to get to spend a few weeks with Addison and Emberlyn this summer. So this was just all around a fun little day trip. And now, if you are familiar with this Peachtree area of Atlanta, you probably have shopped at Lenox Square, and you may have seen that sign. It says, if you obey all the rules, you miss all the fun. And I wrote on that sticker, on that label sticker up above, that there is no following the rules with this bunch. And that's for sure. We just laughed and carried on and acted like loons, and it was just a really, really great time. So I'm really glad that I decided to cut these photos apart and create this layout like this. I think that it's more of our personalities. You know, it was just a fun day, and I think this is turning out to be a really fun layout. And I hope you think so too. So, and again, my embellishing strategy here is just, you know, add a few things here and there just to draw your eye around the page. Fill things in. Nothing really thought out here. Just put it on the page and see if you like it. So that's about it for today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll like and comment and subscribe, and I will see you next Monday back with our regular schedule. All right, bye-bye, you guys.